want to start by, really giving my thoughts, prayers, and condolences with Scott Foreman and Tom 3. Obviously, all of us know how much we loved Tom 3 and his presence to so many friends and family. Obviously, Scott and the Highland 100 did a great job of giving him a great life. So our thoughts and prayers are with the entire family right now. And again, I know that Tom is watching all over his Tiger fam, and we're thinking about him. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with Scott and his family during this time. We had a pretty solid modified practice out there today. We're not at full strength, but we were able to get back out on the field. It's been quite a hiatus, and that they're healthy and well. We're able to get out there and get some stuff done and just be able to kind of be back around each other, do football things, and clear our mind. But it was a good, productive day out there on the field.
How you doing, Coach?
Good. How you doing, Terry?
I know you say you have a modified practice. When do you expect to be back to normal practice and normal operations going from here forward?
Terry, to be straightforward about this, I don't know. We're taking it day by day, and with this, obviously a lot of our issues are COVID related, and we're going to take it day by day to see where we're at. And like I've said all along, one of the reasons why we take our time is for the safety and health and well-being of our guys, and that's going to be our priority. So, if we have something planned and it changes, that's what we have to do in order to look out for the best interest of our young men. But hopefully at some point when we can ramp back up to where we need to be. I don't know if, many teams throughout college football are able to get there. I talked to a lot of head coaches. I've talked to about 15 different head coaches in Division I football, and just to kind of get a bounce off some ideas and talk to them about everything that's occurring. And it's interesting. So many of them said, hey, we had our big COVID outbreaks this summer. It just wasn't brought to the media's attention, right? Or we've been fortunate so far, but we feel like a spike's coming. But I've talked to numerous college head coaches that have said, that a lot of their outbreaks occurred right when they got their guys back, and their numbers were very high, and that it just took them time to get back to where they are. Some of them have played games, and others, just like us, have had cancellations.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Good, Stephen. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. So I guess just for me, what's the difference between a modified practice and kind of, I guess, what it typically looks like for you guys?
Yeah, good question. So what we've done is we've kind of normally we go out there and bang around for over 2+ hours, but today it was kind of, we did some walkthrough type things. We did some different, but we clearly weren't out there the whole time. It was just more of a teach tempo on certain things. So it wasn't a full dwell practice. If you look at how we do our normal period practice, about 25 periods. Today we're out there roughly for about 14 periods. So we're getting some guys back, and we're going to be their health and safety of even the guys that have returned, whether it be contact tracing, right? You think about these guys that are gone for really 15 days, and that's a long time to be away from a practice field. And so you got to ease them back in with what we're doing, and then you get guys. We have had guys that have returned back that were COVID positive that have recovered and feel well, but we also we have a progression of working them back into it as well. So just being smart with how we do it. But today, when I say modified, it's just not as many practice periods, not as long, and more of a walkthrough tempo in certain aspects of it.
Hey, Coach. Two-parter. First is, obviously there's been conflicting reports on how many cases are within the football program. Would you mind sharing exactly, how many, so we can get it right? And then also, how many days passed without any football activity going on?
So, Cassie, what a lot of this has been dealt with, and as a university policy, and I know people would like us to share individual numbers per sport and per individual. But what we're doing as a university and athletic department is we've been working in conjunction with Shelby County Health Department. And as you guys saw, a lot of that was communicated last week on the numbers. And I get that there was some, for lack of a better term, maybe miscommunication on the exact number. And then it was reclarified that, the number that was reported was 42 in the entire athletic department, or I believe it was. I think that was the final number that came out to fruition that it was. We did not have 42 in our football program. But again, we're going to work in conjunction with them and our athletic department so that maybe, if these things that were discussed as an athletic department as a whole, rather not by sport. And a lot of people are saying, well, why are you doing that? Well, let me give you an example. Say it's a basketball game in December and there's 5 positives on a basketball program, or 1, and it takes out, 5 other people with contact tracing. Well, that completely changes the game plan for how that goes. And so I get that a lot of people want a lot of transparency with this stuff, and I understand that, but we're also protecting individuals. I know you say, well, we're not saying names and all that stuff, but I think just down the road, we're going to try to do this as a university and, not report the specific numbers per sport, but, maybe as an athletic department moving forward. And then you asked about the number of days. Obviously it's been quite a while. I think the last time we were out fully on the practice field may have been last Tuesday, if I'm correct. I don't want to tell you wrong, but that's my thought. People behind me are shaking their head. Yes, last Tuesday. So that's one of the reasons, to answer Stephen's question about why it was modified, is just because that's a long time, even if you were 100% healthy, right? Like I said, we shut our building down for players and student athletes not to come in. So, you may have seen some of these guys walking their dogs at a rapid pace on the streets that may have been perfectly healthy.
Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yeah, Clayton, I got you.
Just looking ahead to your next game, I guess I don't know if you can measure it from today, but do you have a level of confidence that it will or will not be played at this time? And then also, obviously it's a travel game for you. So is there kind of a deadline that you're putting on whether or not, a go or not go?
Yeah, Clayton, it is a concern, right? I don't want to ever put our players, whoever we have, how many we have, in danger, because even if you said, okay, hey, you're going out there with, a quarter of your roster missing, whatever it may be, is that fair to your current players? Does that even put them in danger, right? They always talk about risk of injury, or you get guys that may not come back from contact tracing, right, until later in the week. Well, if you get, say you get 8 guys back from contact tracing and you expect them to play and they don't come back till middle of next week, is that safe for them? And so I'm in constant communication with Laird Beach, our athletic director, and obviously he talks to President Rudd. So we talk about things sometimes on an hourly basis, just where we are and what we need to do. I give a lot of credit to Daryl Turner, our athletic training staff, our team doctors, a lot of communication on this stuff, Clayton, just to make sure that we're doing things that are right. I don't know if there's a steadfast hard date on that, right? We saw that Charlotte canceled their game, right, 2 days on a Thursday. And then obviously everybody saw what happened with Baylor, right, with their offensive line that was supposed to play Houston, our previous opponent. It's interesting, Clayton. I talked to, our coaches about this, this past week, is now Houston, especially with their most recent deal, right? They're originally supposed to start the season with Washington State. Then they were supposed to play Rice. Then they're supposed to play us. Then they're supposed to play Baylor. So now they're on their 5th opening game opponent. And that's the reality of college football. And I think I appreciate the staffs and the coaches throughout the country that are trying to do everything they can to keep their guys safe. And so long-winded answer to your question is, we'll make that decision when it comes time. And, who knows when that may be, but, we're just constantly monitoring our guys. And as you guys well know, right, this stuff, we're testing all the time. When I say all the time, we're testing at least 3 times a week. We have some guys that, go back and get tested again just to make sure, because the biggest thing we want to do is minimize the risk to everybody. And then even our guys that have had it or are in quarantine, make sure that they're healthy and well. And I apologize. I probably missed the second part of your question. Oh, you said the travel. I can remember back to that. You had mentioned the travel, and that is just making sure that, I could only imagine. I talked to some of these teams, the contact tracing on a plane, right? And to be honest, I don't know the specifics of that, right? If you're sitting 3 seats back from me, Clayton, and then we land back in Memphis after playing a game, right? Does that wipe out the section that's around me, right? I know maybe one day you can let us borrow some of your money, we take a private plane, but some private jets. But other than that, these are things we're going to monitor throughout the season. That's for sure.
Okay, Terry Davis.
Hey, Coach, I know since you're on a modified practice, I know you guys are always more concerned about playing for you, but how do you implement your game plan and also trying to prepare for yourself at the same time? How you balance that?
Yeah, Terry, you're exactly right. And I keep saying with this interesting, strange off-season, in-season type deal is so much of it's right. Are we going to be where we need to be as a team? And yes, we, a great opponent in UTSA, and then all of our opponents is, yes, we need to be worried about what they do, but gosh, I have concerns about where we're at and what we need to be. And we zoomed the heck out of our kids lately, within our hour qualifications, within care log hour stuff. So, when you're Zoom meeting, I always wonder how much are they truly retaining. And I've challenged our coaches, just like I talked to you guys about, all off season, right? How are we trying to be creative in our teaching, and how are we trying to be creative with that stuff? So just making sure our guys are able to retain the information. So we're doing a good mix of game planning, a good mix of, hey, making sure we're still on it, right? I mean, it was just the other day, we were still talking about corrections from the game, because a lot of these guys, are getting back from things, or some of these guys aren't in our building now. So we're making sure that we're crossing over our T's and dotting our I's.
Brian Moss.
Hey, Coach, is there any silver lining that you've seen going through this? And, whether it be kids that were dinged up, now they're a little bit more healthy. And the second part, having gone through this, what have you learned? Is there anything that you'll do differently going forward?
Yeah, Brian, I think every day is a learning process. I think for all of us, part of it, talking to a lot of head coaches around the country, is we're all learning every single day, not only with, trying to deal with a football program, with 200 plus people, and the testing and the practicing and how we're planning and doing those things. Every day is a learning experience, and I'm learning all the time. And, I think one of those things that I've talked about is we can try to find different ways to learn and be creative. You guys had asked that question in the off season. I think Zoom meetings going forward, it's going to be a positive thing for college football and for a lot of people throughout the country. But, one of the biggest things we've learned is that, we talk to our guys about it all the time. It's adversity, right? And when you had to cancel the Houston game, I tell our guys, look, this is a little bit of adversity that's going on, and this happens throughout life. And a lot of them, 18 to 22-year-olds, a lot of them have seen a lot of adversity and gone through things in their life. But I think that's one of those things that's taught us is that, hey, we'll get through this. We're a family, and we're going through some stuff right now. And at the end of the day, we'll prevail. We just got to be healthy, safe, and well. And then one of the things I've learned is, Brian, I got to have patience, and the understanding that every day, whatever time it is that I decide to get up, and sometimes I get up by, a call or text, whatever hour in the morning, it's something, things are going to occur. And this year more so than ever. And we just got to be able to adjust on the fly. And I've certainly got enough practice plans to last me a lifetime, with as many as I've ripped away and thrown away and changed scheduling and all that stuff. But the biggest thing is just going with the flow, and making sure our guys, I always say this, I give a lot of credit to our student athletes. They are a lot more calm, cool, and collected about adjusting and having an understanding of, hey, this is part of what's occurring in college football, right? They're on social media sometimes more than us coaches. Us coaches panic. Oh my gosh, I got to do this. I got to change this. Wait, you're taking out 2 periods of practice. How am I ever going to get this drill done? And we panic probably more than the players do. So it's given me hope in our team that they understand that this is going to be a lot of bumps in the road this season. But if we just keep again, I go back to our focus, we'll be okay at the end of the day.
Stephen Johnson.
So, Coach, with you guys taking it day by day, have you guys started looking at Texas San Antonio, or is it just kind of like you said, you're just trying to make sure you guys can get these practices in?
Yeah, absolutely. So even, I think last Tuesday's practice was Texas San Antonio based. We implemented as much of the game plan as we could over Zoom, right? And with our guys not being in. So it's, it's interesting. You're trying to implement a third down blitz package via Zoom and talk about the different things they're going to do. And we actually encourage our guys, hey, here's the TV copy. Here's when they're playing. Make sure you're watching that stuff. We're doing our best of our ability. And I think sometimes early on in the season, especially with the new staff, it goes kind of back to Terry's question, is how much are we based on what they're doing and what we have to do? And I feel like with us having only played one game, we still got to get good at what we need to do and adjust, because we see teams, and it's happened to us every year, right? They'll come out in a 3-down front, and then game day, they're in a 4-down front, and we're like, oh crap, we didn't prepare for that enough, right? Or they'll do different things, or there'll be a 12 personnel team with 2 tight ends, and all of a sudden they line up and they're in a empty set the whole time with all wide receivers. So again, so much is going to come back to us making sure we're on, with our on point with what we need to do. But yeah, they got a heck of a team. Like I said the other day, they've new coaching staff. They play hard. Big win for them in double overtime last weekend. And I know they're geared up and ready to go. And, I've never been down to the Alamo Dome, so it'll be a great, unique atmosphere.
Evan.
Ryan, so with 20 days in between your first game and now the UTSA game, how do you try to make sure that your guys are staying ready for not being as rusty with this, or do you kind of lean on kind of how fall camp was kind of a way to get you guys from not being rusty from not having a spring practice?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. I think a lot of it's like you feel like you got this train going in the right direction, then all of a sudden you get a bump in the road, and so it's every day is just trying to knock the rust off, and it's different variations of it. Right, today in our modified practice, it was try and knock some of the rust off. We've got some guys are in great shape, and other guys that we're easing back into this deal, and we're seeing things. I mean, we got to improve. Even Brady White's timing of his passes, right? I mean, you get certain deals. I mean, you take a few days off here and there, you're not throwing. It can change everything, right? We got guys that all of a sudden are, man, I'm sore, and they're going to feel different, right? Tomorrow they'll wake up feeling a little bit different because they haven't done, I don't think some of our guys were out on the sidewalk doing jump cuts with the ball in their hand and doing those certain things. So I think that, Evan, we got to find that fine line of where are we and how can we progress with knocking some of that rust off, but making sure. But we talk to our guys about it. I think it's very important for us to be as open with it. Hey, guys, like there is a little bit of rust here, and this is where we got to clean up this aspect, right? It may be we got to get back to more basic fundamentals on special teams because, it may be the depth constantly changing out there. So,
Cassie.
Unrelated to your program a little bit, but with all the Shelby County school players who aren't having a season right now and are worried about recruiting, how to get notice with no game to put on tape, what's your advice to them, and what's the best way to be recognized to play at the collegiate level?
to make sure I don't violate any recruiting violations or in the NCAA mandate, but for them, one, I reached out to a lot of the local high school coaches. I don't want to say all of them because I didn't, but a lot of them just to give them my thoughts and feelings. I know it's a hard time, but again, I'm going to support the Shelby County Schools, health department, what they feel is best interest in the health and safety of our the high school student athletes. But with that being said, they got to keep a positive disposition. I know there's, guys doing different videos, training videos, putting that stuff on social media, sending different stuff. Us as a coaching staff, we got to go back and reevaluate some of their junior film, any of that stuff, because I think that's important. But, the biggest thing for them is, keep training if they feel so to do so in a safe and healthy environment and get as much on tape as they can. Again, we can't encourage them to go out and put on workout tapes or go onto the practice field if they're not allowed to. And we've had a lot of communications. Anthony Jones is our local recruiter, and he does a fantastic job of talking to these high school coaches and the local student athletes and kind of saying, hey, this may be what we need to see. And, I think when this all circles back around, we've got a lot of wealth of talent here in the Memphis and the 901 area. And you just hope those guys get the opportunity at some point, even if it's not this year, but to be able to showcase their talents in a different way. And you hear about different things that are occurring that people are putting on. I just think anything they can do to showcase their talents and their physical skill set. And obviously they got to finish strong academically. That's one of those things we don't talk about. And it's the same deal we're dealing with our guys, right? Just because we're not in class settings, and just like a lot of the Shelby County schools, just because you're not, you're learning over a computer doesn't mean your academics can slip. So that would be my number one thing, is make sure they're handling their academics, right? Getting their GPA where it needs to be. And I know there's different things with the SAT and ACT being waived, but it always starts with the classroom.
Okay, we're going to do two more questions. First Clayton and then Stephen.
Coach, similar to in that subject, Memphis has had so many guys that have been kind of those diamonds in the rough locally that, maybe you wouldn't have established that relationship early on with, that, surprised later on in their high school career. Anthony Miller, are you concerned at all that, you might end up missing that, and that it's difficult. It's more difficult now for you to find those guys without, having a high school football season to watch them and take the helicopter tour out.
Yeah, you really wish, obviously, right, for the city that they were able to do it. But again, it's going to come down to the health and safety of everything, Clayton. But, I give, like I said, Anthony Jones has done a phenomenal job of being in touch. So, right, I don't know if he finds all those diamonds. So I give him a lot of credit. He's constantly searching, constantly asking the questions. And we've got wonderful high school coaches in this area that are, letting us know, hey, you need to check this guy out. Hey, you got to look at this guy. And that helps us because I think, we've gotten the support from our area high school coaches that want to send kids to Memphis because they understand the type of program we have here, type of coaches, the type of education. So I think all that stuff's important, but we're going to continue to dig, right, Clayton? This thing, as you guys know, this recruiting never stops. I mean, we've had guys that showed up on our doorstep, a couple of days before classes started, and all of a sudden, wait, you played here in town? And then they put on, and those are the exciting ones. So I think we'll be just fine there. But, if any high school coaches get to hear this, keep sending us your kids.
All right. Coach, one thing I've been meaning to ask you, I know the NCAA kind of approved a waiver that kids that played in the fall won't have an impact their eligibility. Does that maybe kind of change the math of kind of how you guys plan, like, recruiting and who you guys are bringing in next year? Is that something you guys are going to handle like at the end of the season?
Yeah, Stephen, that's a great question. So from what I understand, I think with like a lot of the NCAA legislation, it's trying to get a full grasp for it. But my understanding is that anybody that comes back, any senior that comes back, so say, I'll throw out a name, say Brady White wanted to come back for his 20th year of college football. That does not count against our 85 scholarship limit. Okay. So right now, anybody that we were to sign, right, the senior class that was supposed to be leaving doesn't affect anybody who would be signed. So there is a lot of roster management. I know I've talked to a lot of you guys. Like, I think a lot of our job, my job as a head coach, is going to turn into more roster management, especially as we progress. So this incoming class won't be as affected as the next year's class. So it's really that class of 2022, if you will, recruiting class that may be affected, because if all of a sudden you reclassify a lot of these guys and, hey, instead of being a redshirt freshman this year, you're going to be a redshirt freshman next year. Now, we know how college football works out with the attrition, all this stuff. There's certain things that we have to deal with. But it's literally, I'm looking at my roster. Okay, well, if this guy comes back, and there's quite a few guys, obviously, I'm going to be having some awesome sit-down conversations with at dinner in November, just loving them up a little bit, but just tell them how much I'd enjoy to have them back for an extra year with that, because we got great seniors. And then, but it is interesting because you look at a lot of these guys that you sit there, and, in fact, it was earlier today watching on the practice field, I looked out there, I said, man, if I could have that guy, if we could have him for 5 years, it's kind of puts a big smile on your face. You're like, what could we do with him, and what will he look like? And it's great for a lot of these guys that want to continue to develop, and then progress. And a lot of these guys obviously love being here at the university. So